My name is Richard MacEwen. My highest rank was lieutenant, but I achieved that after I left the active Navy and spent 2 years in the reserve. I did have one, as the A Division officer, there was one crisis period that I'd say that I had to deal with, but it really was, everybody got involved in it. When I was on our first cruise to the Mediterranean, they had jet blast deflectors that when a jet took off by it, it deflected the blast from the jet up, kind of. And these things were, on that particular cruise, were mounted inside underneath the deck, and they were raised vertically by a piston, hydraulic piston. Well, one day and they had, of course, they were behind every catapult. Well, one catapult shot planes off from the cannon deck, and the other two were from forward. Well, the one that was behind the catapult in the cannon deck got stuck in the upright position, which meant no airplanes could land, and at that time we had 15 airplanes in the air. And so everybody, included, well, first my chief that was in charge of the thing, he was there, and I guess we had even the captain came down, the executive, the chief engineer, everybody was trying to figure out how to lower this thing, and it just froze, the cylinder froze, and regardless of what we could do, it didn't lower it. And in the meantime, I guess maybe the captain was busy trying to decide what he was going to do with those, or at least the air boss, with those 15 planes. So eventually, fortunately, we were close enough to a field in Italy, and we were able to send those planes off, and they were able to land. But in any case, finally, the only way we were able to get that jet blast deflector down was to remove the whole assembly. And so they sent it back to, I don't know where they sent it back, I guess they just junked it, but got a new one flown out from the States and reinstalled. But the air boss or the captain never, they didn't trust it, never used it. And when we went back into the yard, when we got back to Norfolk, they changed the design to one that flaps up, so that and it still had hydraulic cylinders, but there was 3 or 4 of them, and if it ever got stuck, I think it always disconnected and pulled the thing down. So that was a major change which if you look at them today, in all carriers, at least I understand there's a new one now that's Gerald Ford. If you look at the latest, the super carriers, they all have that type design. So, well, of course, the big change was after about 3 of the conventional boiler-operated, turbine-operated aircraft carriers, they started building nuclear carriers. The first one, of course, was the Enterprise. It was named after, I guess, a series of ships going back in U.S. history. But it was interesting because the pre-commissioning detail for the Enterprise came over to the forestall and wanted to borrow all our written instructions, which we were glad to lend them to. But after the Enterprise, they were all nuclear, and then of course I guess there was a increase in the size and the displacement when they built the Nimitz, and that then everything before that was Enterprise class. Well, first of all, it was the Forrestal class, the Enterprise class, and then Nimitz class, but they were all pretty much the same size, except I think the Nimitz was 100 feet longer than the previous, what they called super carrier, so to speak. And now, of course, I guess I just read about the Gerald Ford carrier, which was, you know, you're always interesting, what changed from the Forrestal, at least that was my big interest in the ones that followed